Right. Yeah, another day, another video. I spend all day telling myself no more videos. Or not no more, but today I'm not gonna make a video. And then I make a video. Because things line up. So then I line them up. Lines up. Today's working title is Be Fruitful and Multiply. Be fruitful and multiply. These were on part of the lawn at the house I was working at today. It's a huge, estate, so I didn't tear up the lawn. It was a part that they mow. It'll just be mowed at some point. But wild strawberries. And I noticed these vines. I don't know much about wild strawberries, but I noticed these vines. These red vines. And how it seemed as though one plant would seed to another. So I pulled out a few of these. They were in a very dry spot, so it seemed as though they were pretty tough. And I tried to pull out a couple that were still attached. Obviously these three aren't still attached, so I guess it must be these. Yeah, these two clumps, let's see if I can separate them. Let's see. Yeah, it seems as though, here we go. Yeah, it looks like, see that? Oh, well, it just snapped, but, oh no, there it is. The vine that attached these two is brown now. I'm assuming because it's died, because mission accomplished. But this vine is now brown. I'm assuming it's pretty much dead. This is the bigger plant, so I'm assuming these live plants. Well, now this little, this plant shot out a red vine, which have eventually found a free spot of land and produced this plant, because that vine, attached in the ground, grew some roots, grew into the plant. This vine died. And so now these are two separate plants, clones of each other, essentially. And this live red vine is reaching out to make a new plant. So of the plants I grabbed, and yet they're wild strawberries, so they're growing seeds. But they also clone themselves, it seems. And so I'm picking wild plants because I want to, which is weird, I want to farm wild plants. But I want them in the winter. Also, what was nice about this bunch, well, now it's just the sour clover, but when I picked it all, it was part of one clump, one of these larger clumps, and had sour clover in it. But it's self-separated, probably because of the root system. And once I watered it, I don't know, loosened up or something. I don't know. So I can add that to my wild clover store. But all the strawberries we eat came from these wild strawberries. So I'm wondering if I can recreate the process and self-select from things I found in my own life. There's something very special when we find things in our own life. Also, it's interesting that these are 3 leaves that, to someone like me who doesn't know anything and just thinks 3 leaves, poison ivy, don't pick them. But that's part of what the they of theys did. They put all these quote unquote old wives' tales into the culture to protect, not only to protect us from things like poison ivy and poison sumac, but like the sumac that's quote unquote good for you or that you can use for sour or spice. They called that sumac when it's not related to poison sumac. You know, same with poison hemlock, which looks like wild carrot. Like there's all these different ways of hiding things, but it's hiding to protect. But now's the time, because we all have these little devices in our hand, and we all have the equivalent of the Library of Alexandria at our hand, that we can relearn things. But part of relearning things is becoming the cavemen that most of us are, which is an insult to cavemen, because most of us, like, we know this and we know that, and we wouldn't last very long in the wild. But recreating the process and learning for ourselves, you know? Be fruitful and multiply. But as we see here, there's more than one way to multiply. This plant has discovered more than one way to multiply. So I'm curious if it keeps going through this process, and if I protect it through the winter, will this plant die? I don't know. I'm gonna find out, or I'm gonna try to find out. It might take me a few years, a few trials to get it right. Because I don't know about soil, I don't know about a lot of things, but I know you need good soil. It's just like I don't know about my guts, but I know I need good guts. And I know I do all kinds of bad things for my body, but I also know that I do all kinds of bad things for my soul. And the soul is primary. I'm gonna try to I'm gonna try like heck I'm gonna try like heck to get to a couple things. I'm gonna try like heck to get to a couple things I didn't get to yesterday, and the day before, and the day before that. Be fruitful and multiply. I hope I get to that today, unlike not getting to much of what I wanted to get to the other days. Yesterday was There Are No Lone Wolves. what I wanted to say, the whole reason why I kept saying that was my working title of yesterday, was it's like it's like the poem, Why Does the Caged Bird Sing? I think I've expanded on the critique of that before, is that birds sing. Why does the free bird sing? Why does the lone wolf why does the lone wolf howl at the moon? Looking for something. I always associate lone wolves with he, but maybe many are she's. I don't know. Maybe there's no such thing as a lone wolf. But if there was, the lone wolf would be howling at the moon, crying for that which it has not yet found. And we can imagine that image of the wolf with the moon behind the wolf. Very popular image. Where did that come from? Likely from a person who actually saw that once. God, the main principle, the order of orders, the reason behind all order, behind all patterns, is not outside of symbolism. Jesus spoke in parabolas. And a positive XY and a positive X negative Y. Vice versa on the other side, the way you're looking at it.
What did you expect? Opening the pathways to other lands, breaking everyone's mirrors. Disreputable magic, sir! This is its consequence!
The highest principle deals in all things. Storytelling, mystery, symbolism. People have seen these things and told the story, and it's stuck. Why does the lone wolf howl at the moon? Looking for something Parmenides has not yet found. Free will strives toward a truth it has not yet achieved. Free will, the omega half of the God in time, strives for eternity. The Alpha and the Omega strive toward each other, and they meet in the middle with the monkey, the one key chi. Okay, what other things did I want to get to? Am I recording?
Because I do not have the time.
Yep. What do I got? 15.
My life is stolen and I'm dying. This darkness would kill me before I can save her if I work alone.
Gotta jog my memory.
You wish something. What is it?
What were my other couple past videos? I can't remember.
Your help.
I remembered a few minutes ago.
Good Lord, Mr. Childermas, whatever happened to your face?
Someone mistook it for an apple, Mr. Honeyfoot. Mr. Black. Children, I wish to speak urgently to your master. He's with Mr. Strange. Excuse my interruption. Mr. Strange said this to me. I think he intended that we use it to help your wife. That is true. I have thought of some readings from that. Is it from Strange? May I see it? He writes that you serve this creature, Stephen. Sir, whose servant have you been? Or you have betrayed the trust of my family. You have colluded in the theft and torture of your lady. So, may I speak freely? There was once a priest.
Seems a resilient plant. The leaves are still.
There was once a priest called Elidorus who hid himself in the hole. You are a savage!
Yeah, here's one of them. The escape velocity of free will.
If I understand correctly, your wife is under a very particular magical contract.
Why
To break such a thing is very hard.
does the lone wolf howl?
As I recall, Melissus says the 100th anniversary of the bargain is often an auspicious moment.
Arabella,
I have his book here.
The escape velocity of free will.
as I understand it, the death of the enchanter brings to an end all such contracts. Immediately.
No English magician has ever done it fair. Not since the Ring King.
But it can be done.
Mr.
There was
Strange
one
is
more
my strong
thing.
advice that you do not set yourself
There was
against
one more video.
it. You will only bring a worse fate upon yourself. Upon those
What
around
was
you.
it? I can't check because I'm recording.
I am dying. My wife is imprisoned in the creature's realization of the purpose.
You don't know what you're talking about, sir. I do not know any creature. I do not know what you mean.
Enough. He cheated. Because he cheated you, that is his nature. You knew that as well as anyone who have read it in your books.
I've only been to do it once. I tried time and time again to prevent you from falling into my mistake.
You might have done that by telling me the truth.
I don't kill fairly.
This is your responsibility, Mr. Bond. All that has happened has been a direct consequence of your actions. You unlocked a door that had been sealed for centuries and you had not the courage to close it again.
I'm sorry. But I have absolutely no idea how to help you.
I did not have the knowledge to find a defeated friend. If I get it wrong, my wife would be lost forever. So I set to thinking. And I thought how there was one man in the world, all the worlds that ever were, would know how to defeat my enemy. One man who would know what magic to do. I realized the time had come to speak to him.
But I must tell you that I no longer regard myself as your superior, or even your extended
I did not mean you. I meant John Lewis Glass, the Raven King. No magician has killed the fairy since he. I intend to summon him here. I intend to place ward of English magic into his hands. And then I shall command him to do it.
There is a danger, sir. If we succeed in breaking the spell, the lady will return to the state chosen before. Then be dead.
Trying to get there. Trying to get there.
Said she would rather be dead than as she died. You should try what you can do.
Summoning the Raven King is a very dangerous idea. The greatest difficulty is that we do not know what to call him. The spells of sorting, especially the old spells of election, require that one be most particular about names.
Surely John Lustglass is his name.
That is the name of the Roman aristocrat whom the Raven King our John Lustglass claimed as his father. But that is most disputed. It don't matter that we do not know his name.
Of course it matters. He was stolen into fairy before he could be christened.
If we use
So he became the nameless slave, Mr. Strange. Nameless
a Greek English spell of something, then we can make the elements of the spell identify him for us, can we not?
No, of course we cannot. I never heard of such a thing.
This house was built on the Raven King's land, correct? With stones from the King's Abbey, the river that runs outside the
Trying to get there.
on its waters.
My God, it's a page.
That's it. Asceticism.
That is a direct descendant of the gift of the king.
We certainly don't with any other spell.
That asceticism, celibacy. You know, I think the collective popular interpretation is wrong. It's a necessary temporal act of will. Just like the lone wolf howling at the moon. The lone wolf howling at the moon is the cry, is the prayer. Jesus prayed. Jesus wept. Who do I pray to? I pray to the God Jesus prayed to. If you're a Christian, if you're not, I guess think of something else. Moses prayed, you know.
What about Drake's restoration of full tranquility?
The escape velocity of collective free will. Because free will, because the eternal God not only allowed, like the eternal God requires free will. Free will is part of the equation. Free will cannot be gotten around even by the eternal God. The eternal God will exist anyway. It is the temporal expression of God's that require, not just require of us. I mean, it's a requirement. Free will is a requirement.
This was not meant to be.
It's the estrangement that allows existence. It's the estrangement of the eternal that allows existence.
You know the enchanter, Mr. Black. The man with the answer. He is Mr. Man. He was a book.
But we have to choose to do the right thing anyway.
He said,
That's why we are the Omega. Before you were, I am. I am the Alpha and the Omega, which was the first and last letter of the Greek alphabet. First and last letter of our alphabet is A and Z. But the first letter is 0. So if you take the first number 0, so if you have a base 10 plus 26, capital and lowercase, 52. So if you have a base 62 system, the first and last is OZ, Oz. The escape velocity of free will has to do with getting enough souls, enough people together, choosing to do the right thing, and in those choices, the butterfly effect, the quantum butterfly effect, quote unquote, the tachyonic, thought form, collective, superconscious, quantum butterfly effect, frees the caged bird. The lone wolf finds what it's looking for. Parmenides it. Be fruitful and multiply. First commandment, Moses. Be fruitful and multiply. How do fruit multiply? They reach, they plant seeds. Jesus fed. I won't get into what a fish represents. If, I'll show this at some other time, but if a fish were a squash, how would 2 or 3 squash feed 1,000 people? By planting their seeds. Be fruitful and multiply. So, that's been interpreted as hump and have kids. There ain't no fruit in humping. Fruit's fruit, right? The literal interpretation of the Bible. Well, the literal interpretation would be plant fruit. He smashed the calf. People who ate the veal. He smashed the golden calf. The brisket. Bris. BRS. Berries. Burr. Ease. I is the phonetic letter for E. Burries. Ket. Kethem. Carrion. But Ket is gold. Kethem is carrion. The berry gold. The blueberries. The monatomic gold. Brisket. Don't eat the fucking brisket. That shit ain't kosher as shit. Kosher? Fuck kosher. That's not anti-Semitic. That's don't eat vertebrates. Be fruitful. Be fruitful. Be full of fruit. I'm sorry I'm preaching like this. I used to be the Hamburglar. I used to be wimpy. I mean, I'm still a wimp. And I'll pay you Tuesday for my food today. It's just it's not cheeseburgers anymore.
That is extremely imprecise.
Oh. Yeah, so I was doing a little bit with this today, which has to do with the yin yang. Hold on now. Right, so you got this 8-pointed star separated by 5 points. It'll come up later, and it will be connected with red and yellow, as it associates with the base system, Ethiopia, and the inverse function, related to roots of the natural numbers. But yeah, I've talked about this image a billion times. Positive and negative square root of negative, or positive and negative square root of I. I is the square root of -1. So positive and negative fourth root of -1. -1 is the square root of 1. So positive and negative, the 8th root of complex 1. Positive and negative, the 8th root of complex 1. But the positive 8th root of complex 1 is the square root of I, and the negative 8th root of complex 1 is the square root of I to the 5th, which positionally places itself at I, but is not I. If I is I to the 1, if I is I to the 1, I to the 5th is not. Except that when we're talking about anything that has to do with ones and 5s, you're talking about the 1st and the 5th, and they both start with phi. And that has to do with plus minus 1 plus minus root 5 over 2. Or whatever. So, and that all has to do with the yin yang. That all has to do with the yin yang. I've talked about that before. But if you take a 8-pointed circle, if you take an 8-pointed circle, and you start at 0 ta, which is 1, if your radius equals 1. If your radius is 1, you're at 0 ta. So then if you go 5, you go across and down 1. Boink. And then you go across and down 1. Boink. And you go across and down 1. Cross and down 1. Oop. Is that right? Yep. Cross and down 1. Cross and down 1. Cross and down 1. crossing down. End up with that image. And what's interesting about that image, what's really interesting about that image, is you get this right here, which is a nice looking star. As stars go, that's a nice looking star. This line here has a length of √2. This length here has a length of √2. Now normally, and I'll do it over here because I want to keep this image a little cleaner, but normally, like if this is one, oop, I'm sorry. Wait, how did I do it initially? Well, if this is 1 and this is 90 degrees, obviously I drew this sloppy, but if this is 1 and this is 90 degrees, oh shit, no, it's right here. Oh no, wait, it's right here too. Well, okay, so yeah, I screwed up. Okay, we'll do it over here. I screw up a wicked lot. Fuck. How am I gonna do this? I don't have the right marker. There we go. Alright. So this is 1. And this is 1, because we're in a unit circle. This is 1, this is 1. Right? And we have our 8 points. So we have 1 I, or 1 Y, -1, -I, if you can call them that. And I'm going to rename these by Hangul vowels. In relation to Goss, who said we shouldn't call things imaginary. Now there's 2 ways of looking at that. One, okay, so he said we should call them lateral instead of imaginary numbers, and if we were to call them lateral, then we should label them with something like the Hangul number, the 4 of the Hangul vowels, which were written like this, like this, like this, and like this. So the Hangul vowels that I'm talking about, like this, like this, like this, and like this. So what is it? Up. Let's see, up. What is it? Up. O. Down. Down. Up. O. Down. Right. Right. Up O, down right left I can't remember. I'm just barely getting into it. But those would be good symbols for the ones. Or good it would be a good it would be a good way to reconsider one, is those 4 Hangul vowels, which is this, the language of Korea, created by the great Sejong king, who created his language, this language at the end of his life with his daughter for his people, Sejong, Saint John. Saint John? St. John, be cool to your people. Dom, dom, but dom, boom. But dom, boom. I say, John. Say, John, be cool to your people. Aerosmith. Permanent Vacation. William Shakespeare. Alright, so this is root 2. But normally we think of root 2 here as 1 by 1. Oh yeah, and Korean flag. Boing! Which I call Chinese pie sometimes. But this perimeter here equals this right here. So this twisted teardrop shape equals the circumference of the circle. Anyway, this is normally what we think of as root 2, but this is also root 2, because we're at the point root 2 over 2 x, root 2 over 2 y from the center, and there's 2 of them. So this equals root 2. Now, from side to side, right, this is 1, and this is 1. So this is 2. If we have our circle here and we have our root I here and we have our root I to the 5th here, whoops, that's too big. Root I to the 5th here, this is what makes this pattern. This littler circle is what makes all these little lines all the way around, because it goes around 8 times. Epicycles, which have been discounted in the modern era, a major mistake. So that, I did the math. Did I do the math? Yeah, I did. I think I must have done it wrong, though. Yep, I did. No, I didn't. Doesn't seem right. No, that's right. I'll have to look into it more later. I had a couple before I started doing it. But it seems that this circle, or this triangle, this side here equals this, 2 minus root 2. This line here equals 2. This line here equals root 2. So from plus or minus I, you get these epicycles, which essentially trace this pattern, which is also the square root of I is the size of the circle inside the yin-yang. That's the size of this circle inside the yin-yang. You get an 8-pointed circle, and of course 8 is associated with the sideways infinity. And you get a triangle where one side, the hypotenuse is 2, or I'm sorry, the hypotenuse is 2, one side is root 2, and the other side is the hypotenuse minus one of the sides. So you get 2 root 2, 2 minus root 2. So this side minus this equals this. And that comes down, I'm not sure if I'm going to have time for this. I haven't really broken it down the way I want to, but I'll see if I can get to it. I'll see if I can do it on the fly. I've done it in my head like a few times. I'm still kind of working it out. An eye for an eye. The law. The law. The law. Moses, be fruitful. Be fruitful and multiply. Plant fruit. Eat fruit. Be fruitful. Be full of fruit. Trust me, I'm preaching to myself. I mean, I don't eat meat no more, but I eat a lot of junk food, so I have a modicum of moral authority, and it's like at the I might be at 11% moral authority, which means I'm still at 89% piece of shit. But hey, every penny counts. An eye for an eye. There'll be more to say about it. I know I won't get to it all now. I'm gonna do it freestyle. Oh! Oh, phew, that was close. I almost turned off my video. Awesome. Where's my head gonna be? An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. First of all, why does the lone wolf howl at the moon? Now, this isn't necessarily what it meant in the original text, but as the translations of the Bible progress, in certain ways it's refined and readopted. So there is, that's the thing, going back to the original text. But that would be like creating Jurassic Park. And we all saw Jurassic Park. How'd that work out? We don't want to bring back the fucking dinosaurs, man. Those were the Titans, the gods fucking, the gods locked away the Titans. Good. Or the Olympians. The Olympians locked away the Titans. Good. I'm all set with the dinosaurs. Thank you very much. We'd be an appetizer. So, in some sense, if we have complete minds, it's good. And it's good to go where interest goes. And now that we have all these little text devices, it's good that we can look at things, but we also have to move forward. We have to blast through shit, A lot of the past is just as much a shield. A barrier, a fence, a leash that we have to break through. An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. Now, first of all, we're talking about eye. So this could, And this is another important point. This is one of the ways they, the they of the days, have encoded their... We're supposed to break the code so that we can see that there has been a plan all along. If you're a conspiracy theorist, awesome. You're on it. The whole point of becoming a conspiracy theorist is to get locked into the conspiracy of conspiracies. It's getting past the top of the pyramid. There's a reason why there's no central eye to the top of the pyramid. That pyramid will never be complete until we complete the tetrahedron. An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. In the English translation, as we know it, was part of the English Protestant Revolution, blah blah blah. Man, that goes this way, that way. Leviathan, which has to do with We Are Legion, which has to do with that V movie, which has to do with the organization Anonymous, which has to do with Nullsec, which has to do with right now, what's it called? Anti-fascist. Now, if we watched all those Anonymous movies, what was it? It was a bunch of dudes protesting in the streets with masks on their face. And what's happening now? An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. So we got these two little fishies. And we have an eye, and two canines. A canine and a canine. An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. Now we get into the language. I won't get to all of it because I know I've already forgotten a lot of things I've remembered. I never write shit out, but if I write it out and read it, it's boring anyway, and I always get to it kind of later, and unfortunately I'm not much of a scholasticist. It's just things come down in these thunderstorms sometimes, and then the rest of the time they come down in a thunderstorm and then it's a drought. You know, that's just the way I work for now. I'm hoping to get better. But if I don't make this shit now, I won't make it. And if I do, now it's a reference for me or maybe somebody else one day. And it's just like this, right? These strawberries. Like, these reach out. And they reach out looking for that empty piece of dirt. They're a probe. Just like ants, if you watch ants, they just go like every which way. But there's a method to the madness. They're flipping over stones, you know? And they're going fast. Ants are going fast. Strawberries are going slow. But they're searching in this war for ground. And they find that little piece of ground. But of course, I saw this video about how, like, if you put two plants alone in a room with a pole equidistant from the two plants, that is the direction they'll grow if lighting's all equal and all that. Especially if they're like viney plants that wrap around shit and need to grab onto shit. They will grow toward the pole. And as soon as one plant reaches the pole, if there's no other pole in the room, the other plant will die. So I guess, as far as my work goes, sometimes I think I'm going to make something really awesome that a lot of people are going to see, and it's going to make a difference, you know? And then other times I think, nobody's ever going to watch my shit. But it's a reference for me, and it gives me practice in trying to formulate ideas. and trying to express ideas, and then I can watch them and say, yeah, I like that, yeah, I don't like that, you know, and I do that a lot, and it goes up and down the roller coaster. I might make something one day and be like, ugh, and then the next day be like, man, not bad, and then a few days later be like, ah, what the fuck's it matter anyway, and then the next day be like, yeah, fuck it, it's alright. I mean, I don't know.
It is the Raven King's book.
And then other times I think, well,
It held their fates once, and it
maybe each video is a kill shot.
We may decipher its meaning
I see.
together.
I think a couple people have watched my videos. A couple regular folk. For some reason, for some reason, the demigods are on it. The demigod. The demigods are up my. The demigods are on my shit like flies on shit, you know. But I don't know why. But I know there's a reason. You know?
I hope you are what you
More
are.
these days.
The key to our future.
More these days I have trust. But it's been a tough. It's been a tough 10 years. And it's been a tough 5 years.
Where the magicians used to go, perhaps.
And it's been
In
a
the sky,
tough year.
on the other side of the rain.
My ups are better. My downs, man, they're just different. But today's alright. I'm a functional alcoholic today. Trust me. Well, yeah. Alcohol ain't the worst of it. And I don't mean like some other regular shit. I mean, you know, the weird shit. But holding it together. An eye for an eye. So yeah, the time the whole English deal came out, the time the Bible came out was around the same time the printing press came out, which was about the same time that the vowel shift in England came out, which was about the same time Sejong created Hangul. An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. An eye for an eye. An eye for an eye. A tooth for a tooth. See if I can break it down. I don't feel like doing it quite yet. I hope you're having a good day. And I mean that in just a regular way, you know? I'm influenced by the weather a lot. So today it was a little warm, but it's nicer than it's been. You know, today was high 70s, low 80s. I was working in the sun quite a bit, but it was a nice breeze, not a harsh wind. It wasn't still and like dead air. And saw some butterflies, some hummingbirds. It was nice. Blue sky, pretty landscape. Had some good food. My bowels are a little bit better than they've been. My back pain that I've had, this weird chi funk that I've had is better. So in that sense, I hope you're having a good day. But if your shit's fucked today, I hope you're having a good day. My shit's fucked a lot. And I don't just mean this shit, I mean like my shit. But sometimes, well, this dude I work with a lot of times says, sometimes, what does he say sometimes? Sometimes when I'm At my worst, I'm at my best. Or something like that. So if you're having a bad day, I hope you're still hanging by that thread, that really, really good thread today. Really important. It's the most important thing, but it's not the only important thing. That's the pole. And sometimes that's all you got, it's the pole. No sphere. Other days you're closer to the sphere. Maybe not by much. Might be just, some days you're the pole, some days you're the whole sphere, and some days you're like this. This is me on a good day. That's how close I get to the sphere. But that ain't bad. Just keep dipping. Build that candle till it's a ball of wax. I'm not sure if Titebond is made with horse. I'll have to look that up. It's animal shit and everything. And they don't even necessarily put it on all food. Never mind glue. So I'll have to look that up. I used it because I was building my, is it on the camera? Yep. Yeah, exploring perpetual motion machines is... Oh, good thing I discovered that. Got my glue dripping. Hog hair. I got a lot of cleaning up to do. I got rid of my belt. But dead animals all over this fucking place, man. Sacrifice. Fruitful. Yeah, studying perpetual motion machines. Studying all those impossible things. Squaring the circle, trisecting an angle, perpetual motion. It's good to do that. Because you discover where you're wrong. Over and over and over again. However, Thomas Hobbes and Leviathan, We Are Legion, he died convinced he'd squared the circle. Is that a forgotten mathematical text? Ignored? Well, there's all these universities and doctorates and blah 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 blah. But that, to me, is an unresolved issue. And it's unresolved because we all don't know. We all don't know. One of the awesome things about being a painter is that you always wear stuff with stains on it. Unlike being a dude in a suit. And that's one of the things about a suit. Like, the tie is the leash, right? The tie is the noose. There's a few people who have taken off their tie. Andrew Yang. Obama started taking off his tie in public appearances lately. Good for him. The practical use of the tie is that it is a mini bib. It's a mini bib for dudes who want to look tight, The other side of that is, let everybody be a slob. If 80% of the world wore sweatpants, the world would be a better place. And we pick on people in sweatpants. Yeah, so I was working on my perpetual motion machine. made out of quarter coin tubes and Folgers can lids. Gonna change the world, baby. And this one, those are my clamps. Oh yeah, and teriyaki skewers. You don't have to put meat on them. I had some delicious ones yesterday and today. Mushrooms, onions, peppers, and squash. Delicious. Oh, I really went off topic. One of the reasons the they of these build up these obsessions in me by sending encoded messages through time is so that I'll get all worked up when I get home, tell myself I ain't doing no video today, and then I have an idea, and then a few things come together, and then I say, I'm gonna do it. And then I'm up till midnight doing shit. And then I've had too many to make a big supper. Because I'm always thinking about food, just like that Kung Fu Panda dude. Kung Fu Panda. Man, that's me without all the kicking ass. I'm Kung Fu Panda without kicking ass. I've said it before, you know. You want to ruin your life? You think people who talk about hearing Morse code and shit are crazy? Learn Morse code. Learn Morse code and then listen to everything. See what happens. See what happens. I dare you. I dare you. They dared me, I did it. And I saw. I'm still seeing. And I only know about half of Morse code. But it's about the beat. And it's about the tone. It's about the beat, and it's about the tone. But then if you get something where the beat meets the tone, you know, when you get a triangle like this, and it's the way a unicircle's broken up, and you get a 2, and you get a root 2, and you get a 2 minus root 2, all in one right Pythagorean triangle, who said they'd cut out your tone if you told the secret of root 2. Well, first of all, what's that mean? The tongue or the tong? I'll get to that some other time. That has to do with the 60 separations on the circle. Eight. Infinity. In. Phi. Phi. Erst. Phi. V. One and five. 5 and 1, baby. 1 and 5. No one here leaves this place alive. Alright, I'm getting too into it. An eye for an eye. I'll go more into this later, but an eye for an eye. A tooth for a tooth. An eye for an eye can be transliterated as the letter N, the letter I, and the letter for, the letter N, the letter I. If you put it backwards, so you have N, I, for, N, I. If you're going, or I'm sorry, N, I, for, N, I. Shit. What is it? N, I, for, N, I. An I, for, an I. Not quite symmetric, but kind of. If you do it backwards, it's I, N, for, I, N. Which could also be I to the N times 4, I to the N. And of course, I to the N to the 4 could be I to the 4N. Same thing. I to the N. Which is to say, in quote-unquote normal math, these two things equal each other. Just like this thing equals this thing, which is 4n away. If n equals 1/8, if n equals 1/8, then if n equals 1/8, then you have I to the 4/8, which is I to the half. And you have I to the 8th, which is the square root of I to the half. Which is this point and this point. And this point is 4n from this point. Not I to the 4n, but 4n. A tooth for a tooth. I mean, I hope I displayed that pretty well for the math folk. I get math. I call it math lexic. It's like dyslexic, but just like dyslexia is actually a sign that you're really good with codes. You know. It's kind of like that with mathlexia. Dyslexia means you're already on the Leonardo spectrum. It's just you got to refine the shit, you know. A tooth for a tooth. This one I haven't spent as much time on, and I barely spent any time on either one of them. A few lightning storms. Basically, like in the neighborhood of like 45 seconds over the course of the past 6 months. So like 45 seconds between 6 months ago and now, and I've spent a duration of about 45 seconds on this stuff, maybe 20 times. So accumulatively, that's not a lot of time. And speaking about it goes a lot slower, because when you just lightning storm on it, it just all comes together. So a tooth for a tooth. Oh, also one more thing. On an eye for an eye, another thing that's built in the language is an eye, Annie, animation, motion, foreign eye. And as that relates to this particular object, when you're talking about the square root of I, this is the square root of I. This is the foreign square root of I, because it's not an original square root of I. It's the square root of I to the 5th. Phi. You think these motherfuckers didn't build this shit in? Crazy. A tooth for a tooth. 2. 2. A tooth. But it's not called a tooth. It's called a second. But symbolically, a tooth is a second. And a second, we call it 1/2. We call it 1/1, 1/2, 1/2. Then we call it 1/3, 1/4, 1/5. But if we followed the symbology backwards, we'd say 1/4, 1/3, 1/2, 1/4, 1 tooth, over 2, over 2. If we put it backwards, it's a thought, or a thoot. If we put this backwards, it's a roth, or a root, or a roof, upside down, an inverse, a root 2. For A. That one might be too hard to get into. That one might be too hard to get into. A tooth. A tooth. An eye for an eye. Eye. The imagination. Thought. The imagination. But the imagination has to do with the eye, thinking in images. The thought has to do with thinking in words. Images, we can think in images faster than we can think in words. When we have a brainstorm, it tends to be where images collapse. When you have 25 images collapse into a moment, they just go. And typically, we can think in images faster than we can think syllabically. Just like we can flip through an art book faster than we can read it. And if a picture's worth 1,000 words, when images collapse upon each other in our mind, we're thinking, that's a faster way of computation. So then that comes back into, like I said, I have more to do on that, but I hope that I'm showing that the English translation of that does connect with this symbolically. And that all goes back to like King James Bible, Francis Bacon, the Illuminati, Catholic Church, Protestant Church, the conspiracy of conspiracies, and all the shit about the East I don't know, which is almost all of it. But so the way Goss spoke about this, lateral numbers, is interesting. And then of course when we get into laterality and Gaussianism, then we're talking about this shape and this root 2. But then when we get into Eisenstein numbers, then we're talking, well, okay, then we're talking about the 6. But this resembles that a lot more. We're getting into something much different when we're dealing with this root 2 than we are when we're dealing with this root 2. And this root 2 obviously reigns supreme because this is 1 by 1 root 2. And here we got 2 root 2 and 2 minus root 2. Slam. Kabam. And then what we're talking about is we're talking about C equals A minus B instead of C equals A plus B. And that ties into Eisenstein numbers. But another way of thinking about, I mean, we need to reinterpret these symbols for sure. The positive and negative thing is a total fuck. One of the biggest reasons it's a total fuck is because we don't preserve the plus sign when we're dealing with positive ones. So that's a problem. It's a major problem that we write positive 1 as 1 and that we write negative 1 as negative 1. And we don't write positive 1 as positive 1. That's a major problem. Another major problem is that we write I and negative I, so once again we're not preserving the plus. Oh yeah, I got these backwards, but do I? And the other major problem is that we associate imaginary with not real. And in a sense it's not real, but yet it's real in so much as this is as much of a continuum as 1x and 1y in a circle, right? That's what we'd consider a real circle if it was 1x and 1y, as if this fucking, as if an xy circle exists and we call that real, right? What's real versus what's true, right? So, but yet this circle's just as real as this circle, or at least, I mean, I challenge you to disprove that, you know? But that the imagination isn't real. And what the great people who encoded this stuff, and so like what I'm saying is like the person who wrote that line in English, an eye for an eye is a tooth for a tooth, in those words, as the English language was being codified as it is known today, as these sayings were being made so that we would know them today, there were people constructing it behind the scenes. And what I'm saying is that this type of language is the way in which, because I didn't even come about until, what, 100, 200, 300 years after? However long it was. See, I don't know the specifics, but I get the gist. So I was already encoded well before it came out in the math. But the math is here. But it was specifically encoded so that they could say, we've been around, we have an agenda. We've been around, we have an agenda, it's an agenda for good. We will. And it's not just a will to power. It's not just a will to power. It's not just a will to power. It's not the Schopenhauerian will. But it is. And it's not the Nietzschean will to power. But it is. And it's not beyond good and evil. What's beyond good and evil? Great. God is good. God is great. What is great? 8. 8 is great. And great starts with a C. Or a G. 7. Anyway. The imagination, if perfected, is prophecy. When prophets have visions, where do they have them? In the imagination. I is associated with time. The Einstein equations. Never mind the JK, but when you multiply something by I, when you multiply something by 1, you just go along the number line, or by 2, or by whole numbers. You multiply by I, you rotate, which takes time. And when you have a perfect, when your I be single, when you've perfected your imagination, you can see through time. I've caught a glimpse. I'm not there yet. Now is the time we can all get there. And if we don't get it right, our yin-yang ain't gonna meet up right. The invisible spinning center at the middle of these two halves will not meet. They must meet. We're gonna have a yin-yang. You know, because right now we're the Pepsi logo. We're coming together. These points are coming together, and these lines are quivering. If our centers don't meet up perfect, the whole fucking thing's gonna break apart. That's the Earth. But if they do meet up perfect, the new Earth, the new world, the new Atlantis that will be accomplished will be so miraculous and so beautiful, and we're there where we can make it happen. And the first thing we need to do, I'm telling you, why do you have bad dreams? Why do you have bad visions and bad thoughts? Especially, I mean, it needs to go much, much, much further than this. And there's so much work to do. But the clearest message is stop eating animals. Moses came down the mountain and destroyed the golden calf. Commandment 1: be fruitful and multiply. Stop eating the cow. Eat the fruit. Be full of fruit. Why did Jesus come? Stop sacrificing. Stop sacrificing animals to God, to the gut, to the goat. To the gut. Besides all that, hope you're having a good day. Hope you're having a good day. And I hope you're doing good work in your way. And it might not look like the way the movies make us think it does. And we only all get there together. And I'm a super duper broken dude. Broken. But I'm still here. And I'm broken when I compare myself to others. But I ain't dead yet. And neither are you. And even if we're having a bad day, sometimes we can still kind of have a good day. And was my work great today? No. But was it pretty good? Yeah, it's pretty good.